Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel for a special video. Today, I'm joined by FPL expert BigManBakar, who is going to be telling us the best replacements for Salah, Son, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Three huge players, Bakar, that are all red flagged for Game Week 21. So, what we're going to do in this one, Bakar's going to run us through his ideal replacements for those three key players. Bakar, let's start things off with midfielders. It is the flavour of the week. From out of nowhere, two of the best midfielders in the game are no longer available, and we need to find some replacements. So let's start off with the obvious picks. Who do you think are the best replacements for Salah and Son?
Yeah, hello, Jack. Hello, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. I think the obvious replacements are Saka and Palmer. If you don't own them already, I think a lot of people are in the position where they own at least one, if not both. So, I mean, for obvious reasons, penalty takers, great underlying statistics, good fixtures to come. I think Saka and Palmer are the ones to go for. But I would actually like to talk more about the players people don't have and are realistically targeting. And in that section, I think I like Foden, Richarlison, and Gross the most. I think these three are the ones which potentially stand out in my opinion. We know that with Son now gone, Richarlison could be on penalties, and he's playing out of position as a forward. Willis is injured. So his expected minutes are going to be high up. Spurs have a decent run of fixtures, and truth be told, I mean, Richarlison's playing in a Postecoglou side, so they look like scoring in every fixture. I guess Werner has come, so it might have a slight impact on his minutes. But I think for the next 4 or 5 weeks, Richarlison should be good to go. The only problem with buying Richarlison right now is that he is blanking. He could blank in Game Week 26 if Chelsea beat Middlesbrough in the Carabao Cup semi, which is, even though Chelsea have lost their first leg, they're still expected to beat Middlesbrough. And should that happen, then Chelsea and Spurs both will blank in Game Week 26. A lot of teams are already stacked with the likes of, Porro and Palmer in their teams. So getting an additional blanker might not be ideal. That's something to consider. But the only reason why you might want Richarlison right now is if you consider him to be the best possible option among all the alternatives available. And if you think that he will significantly outscore those alternatives by a substantial margin to nullify the upcoming blank that he might have.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on. Next pick, who do you think?
I think Foden is the one.
Yeah.
Not exactly the best fixture this week, but Newcastle have been leaky in recent times, so I don't necessarily mind going from Son or Salah to Foden this week. The good thing is that he has Burnley at home next week, and then he has, again, a likely double of Brentford at home and Chelsea at home in Game Week 25. So the fixtures are in his favor. He's playing really well. I don't think he will lose his spot even if KDB comes back. I think Foden is playing well enough to retain that spot in the side. So he's pricier than Richarlison, but could be worth it because City don't have a blank in 26 and to have a likely double in 25.
How likely is that double in 25? Because I see a lot of people saying that Liverpool are gonna double in 25. City are going to double in 25. Obviously, the midfielder that we bring in this week is so important for future game weeks with these doubles and blanks that have to happen at some point. But we saw with the City-Brentford game that everyone thought was going to be in 21 or 20 or perhaps even earlier. It didn't happen. How likely is the 25 doubles to happen?
As of now, it's looking more likely than not to happen. If it doesn't happen, then City are likely to double in 28, simply because of their European commitments. These are the only 2 weeks which are looking likely, but 25 is more likely than 28. Coming on to some of the other replacements, I think Pascal Gross is someone I really like. Brighton have an excellent run of fixtures from this week onwards. The entry point actually is great. When you look at their fixtures, Wolves at home, Luton away, Crystal Palace at home, Spurs, Sheffield, Everton, Fulham, Forest. So the next 7 till 28 are dreamy fixtures for Brighton. And, Gross is one of the nailed men in De Zerbi's side. He's playing as a number 10. He's on set plays and even on penalties in the absence of João Pedro. So he's a good pick. I like him as a selection. In fact, I was actually having a look at some of his data recently. And in the previous 8 game weeks, he's been involved in nearly 50% of Brighton's big chances. So he's been integral to the style of play. He tends to do better for bonus points. So yeah, these three are the ones I think kind of stand out. I'd also like to mention Garnacho as someone who's a good replacement, especially if you're looking for a cheap enabler to be in a position to buy Haaland back next week. A lot of people are looking for cheap budget options. I think Garnacho is a good shout. His non-pen XGI per 90 in the previous 6 games is roughly around 0.5. So his underlying data is good. He's been playing really, really well. I can't foresee him getting dropped. And at his price, he should represent excellent value.
Okay. Yeah, I think as we move into the potential blanks and doubles, a player like him at that price could be so important if you do want to get those big hitters back in.
Yep.
Right then. Those are the sort of the obvious ones. I kind of want to ask about Bowen a little bit. I brought him in early, which I've been scolded for by Bakar off camera, but it is what it is.
No, I haven't scolded you. In fact, that's a lie. I actually said it was a good move. Honestly, it makes sense.
By the way, I actually I would do that again. I don't really make early transfers that often, but I would do that again. We knew Salah was 100% out. We knew that Bowen is a player that's not, he doesn't normally get injured. I can't remember a few injuries that he's ever had really in his career, and very often they are short term. Who knows when he'll be back? But yeah, Bowen obviously now not an option. Let's move into some other options that people aren't really thinking as much about. I've got predicted points over the next four for all midfielders up on screen. I do actually want to ask you about Gordon, because Gordon is a player that's in your team, but no one's speaking about bringing him in. Is that just because the next 2 fixtures aren't great? Obviously, when we're looking from Gameweek 21 onwards.
I mean, he's a good hold, but he's not exactly a good buy because Newcastle, the next 2 immediately aren't great. Villa away and City at home, and then they don't really have a double either. So, which is why he's not as popular. But he's already, he's going to take along. I won't really go out of the way to buy him, to be very honest. I think someone like an Eze is actually a good shout from next week onwards.
Yeah.
This week has a tough fixture, but next week onwards again, Crystal Palace have a home fixture to Sheffield United, and I like the look of Eze that week.
Yeah, predicted to do pretty well actually over the next 4. That fixture in particular, Sheffield United at home. The surrounding 2 aren't ideal. Brighton away, I guess not as bad these days. But yeah, Sheffield United at home doesn't get much better than that. Let me ask you about Diogo Jota now, because with Salah obviously at AFCON, his expected minutes are increased. He's got the double, the potential double in 25 as well. But by then, Salah will probably be back. So does that lower his sort of value in your players that you're looking for in midfield to bring in for Salah and Son?
The only thing with Jota is that Liverpool in the next 2 weeks have 5 fixtures. I mean, they have plenty of FA Cup, Carabao Cup games, and I just worry that for a player coming back from injury, even though he does have the upside and the fixtures are there, I sort of worry with the injury and the fixture congestion and the fact that Liverpool are going to lack creativity with Salah gone, with Trent gone. Mm-hmm. These are the only worries that I have. Other than that, he does have a double in 25. Whether or not you expect him to play both is obviously a question mark. But then the blank again in 26 is going to be a problem for a lot of people who already have, the likes of Palmer, Porro, Richarlison. If Chelsea are to beat Borough in the cup, then that's likely to be a blank, and Liverpool are likely to blank in 26.
Okay. Before we move on to potential Trent replacements, any other midfielders that you are thinking of or that are a little bit outside the box?
I think we've covered most of the ones who are realistic picks in detail.
I think
I would have been very high on Bowen had he been fit, but unfortunately,
me too, my friend. That's why I transferred him in. Oh well. I think the main point there that Bakar is making is that with any player that you bring in this week, it's not just, you can't just look at the immediate fixtures because as you've said, with the likes of Foden, potential double coming up, Bowen wouldn't have had a double anyway. Jota, we're not sure on minutes for 25, 26, etc. That all is very, very important because yes, they could do well in the immediate week, 21, 22, whatever, but how are they going to do when it really matters in 25 and 26? All right, mate, let's move on to the Trent replacements. Kind of out of nowhere, I was actually chatting to my friend who's a Liverpool fan yesterday and said, "Did you actually notice that Trent picked up that injury at the end of the game?" I don't think I watched that. I watched the first half. I couldn't watch the rest of it. And he said nothing was really made of it in commentary, but he was noticeably hobbling for about the last 20 minutes or limping, whatever, still played on. Nonetheless, he's going to be out for a while. So if people are looking to sell him, who do you think are the best replacements?
I think Stupinan and Walker are the ones that stand out. Stupinan because of the Brighton fixture schedule that I mentioned, and Walker because of City's fixtures and the likely upcoming double in 25 is likely to be the most nailed of the City defenders as well, likely to get the highest expected minutes. So probably Walker is slightly better, but Walker is He's 0.5 million expensive. So again, it's team dependent, and it depends on, the other ramifications your pick is likely to have on the rest of your squad.
Yeah, 100%. Personally, I love this Dupont pick. I just love him.
Yeah,
I do.
And Jack, just before we wrap up, I would also actually like to run through the pecking order of who to sell first. I think that's pertinent to this video as well. So let's just cover that. Let's say if you have all three.
Well,
Salah,
I've got your team on screen,
Trent,
and it's Salah, Son, Trent on the bench.
All in the team. Then who do you sell first? So, in my opinion, I think ideally in an ideal world would be Son, because Liverpool could double in Gameweek 25, and Salah's even a captaincy shout in 24 if he's back by then, which could happen if Egypt are to get knocked out by the quarterfinals, which according to the bookies odds is most likely. So according to the bookies odds, it's looking as if they are to be believed, it's looking as if Salah will be back by Gameweek 24. So you ideally want to be in a position where you hold on to Salah. And if you're selling Son is not likely to have a double for Gameweek 25, 26. So, and then we'll have the blank in 26 as well. So Son is likely to be the first in the pecking order, in my opinion. The only thing that complicates this is the fact that a lot of people want to buy Erling Haaland back into their teams next week.
Yeah.
And if you sell Son, then a lot of people, a lot of field managers are in this position where if they sell Son for a midfielder, they still don't have enough to go from, let's say, a Darwin or an Alvarez to Haaland. So in that scenario, maybe if you want to jump to, Haaland in one move, then maybe sell Salah. But again, it's not ideal, and you want to be in a position where you sort of hold them at least until the Gameweek 22 deadline, where you get more information about, the Carabao Cup results, the FA Cup results, or the FA Cup draw. And with Trent, I think I ideally, if you have three playable defenders other than Trent, then I think you should probably hold on to him, because the initial suggestion is that he is likely to miss 2 to 3 weeks. And even if it's 3 weeks, there's a chance he's back by, for the Chelsea game or the Arsenal game in Gameweek 22 or 23. And given how good Liverpool's fixtures are after that, I think Trent could be a good hold. But I realize and I acknowledge that a lot of people are in this position where, because of team structure, because of the Haaland money, they have to sell, the likes of Trent or Salah or Son, just because they have a weak bench, and, just because they're forced into it. So I can see a lot of variance in people deciding who to sell, who to buy this week, and it should make for interesting times ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those where, as you say in this video and in your normal weekly team selection, you mentioned how you'd love to just wait and roll and get more information to make long-term informed decisions, but it might not be possible. And that's kind of the deliberation of this week. I will finally ask you, thank you for that, by the way, about captaincy this week, because it's likely going to be a midfielder. And obviously, if we are selling Salah Son, in midfield, the players that we're bringing in could potentially be captain options as well. What are your thoughts on captaincy for Gameweek 21?
I'm thinking maybe I'm actually torn between Saka and Palmer.
Okay.
The mids, I generally tend to go with midfielders when I'm in doubt. And when Haaland and Salah aren't exactly in the picture, then it's difficult to choose. But I think it'll be one of those. At the moment, I'm on Saka, because I just look at the numbers that Arsenal have been putting up for XG, and they've been battering teams, but the actual results haven't been the way the expected goals data is showing. So maybe this is the week where they finally come good, and I can see them winning a game 4 or 5-0 soon. And I sort of have a feeling that this could happen this week. Palmer is a good shout as well, but I'm sort of leaning towards Saka.
Yep. Saka actually has the highest predicted points of any player this game week, according to Fantasy Football Hub. So reason enough to captain him. I'm slightly leaning towards Palmer. I will say that the game against Middlesbrough has put me off a little bit, although I don't expect him to play in a false nine position against Fulham, and it is at home, but still, I don't know. I think it's one of those where you can really go with your gut on it. All right, Bakar, thank you very much. There we go. Those are Bakar's best replacements for Salah, Son, and Trent. Very interested to see what you end up doing, Bakar. We'll have to wait until your final team reveal is posted on the Fantasy Football Hub website to see what you end up going with. Guys, if you want to know what Bakar does before deadline, link to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub is down below in the description. 30% off right now with a 30-day free trial. So if you don't like what you see, you don't like Bakar's transfers, then you can just cancel. You won't, but you can. Bakar, thank you very much as always. Good luck next game week, and thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy.